Greetings and peace. I hope you and yours are doing well today, wherever you might be watching this from. Now, the title of this video is How Can Indian and Pakistani families who immigrate to the West be able to live a good life and also provide a good life to their children? Now, I myself am an immigrant to this country at a young age. I did all of my schooling, most of my life, whatever involvements have been in a Western point of view, but I've also had the privilege to grow up in an Eastern household. So I know my language, culture, where I come from, the traits and values, and all that stuff. But I would say that in order for your future generations to be successful here, you need to give them the freedom of their choice. Now, a lot of people that come here, they want to hold on to their values and what they stand for, their way of life, but you have to realize that those if you were abiding by a certain lifestyle, that might work over there, but here it's a totally different routine that you have to live through, because it's a different kind of concept in a different world you're living in. So give your kids as much encouragement as you can. Be involved in their schools, know who their teachers are, know what they're doing, and you have every right to make sure that you pass on the values of your religion, culture, teach your kids right from wrong, what to do, moral positions, and what to do. And also, at the same time, if you don't give them the freedom to make their own choice, then they will grow up with internal warfare of their own, where they're living in two different worlds. First is the Eastern world that they're living in, which is their home and family life. And second, when they go outside into work and school, it's the Western world that they have to live with. So they're dealing with two conflicting worlds where one's expectations are different, the other's expectations are different. So don't create this, don't do this injustice to them. So if you're coming here as a single family, or if you have children, then teach your kids everything. You have the right to, in a free society, to pass on your values, but at the same time, just let them be. Give them the freedom to do what they want, and don't pressurize them in a position where you think whatever they do, that you're just never happy. Be happy for them. Encourage them, because if you don't, then they will fall into a trap of self-doubt, and you will create a personality disorder within them, because most of them have that mindset that, okay, I brought you to this country and you can never repay me for the rest of my life. Now, that's true. We can't repay our parents for all the sacrifices they made for us, but when you put that burden on your children that, oh, I brought you and your family and every one of us from one corner of the world to this corner of the world, how can you outdo me, and what can you do to prove to me that you can do what I did? So then they just are in this pressure all the time, where no matter what the kids do, the parents are just never happy. And that's where a lot of the kids, when they become adults, they end up rebelling, and then they go against the culture, and then there's family problems and things like break off because you have two different ideologies that are competing against each other. So I've seen this pattern play out many times, and it's, to keep this video short and to the point, is for those coming here for a better life, integrate yourselves with the lifestyle, with how people practice their values of education and work life and all that stuff. And at the same time, you pass on your values to your children. There's nothing wrong with that, but give them the freedom and give them the support. And when you do, then you will see they will be happy, they will be more successful, and they will be able to integrate themselves into this life here in the West in a better way, rather than falling into those four traps, which is either they end up at a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts, at a grocery store they're working, or they ended up working at a cell phone store, or they're driving like taxi or Uber, or they're driving, how do you say, they're doing some kind of driving, or they get their own business. But there's nothing wrong with these four things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with making an honest living, but you have to teach your future generations that out of these four patterns, there's other possibilities out there too. So I see very, very few Indians or Pakistanis in the corporate world. Yeah, you have them, but it's not to that level where they're here representing a community, where you have representatives in communities, and the communities are not feeling isolated. So if you're choosing to come here for a better life, then encourage your kids to learn everything about the system here, to integrate yourself into the system here, learn everything, how people do everything, and also when they accomplish something, be happy for them. Don't put that burden on them that I brought you here and I did more than you. You know, how can you outdo me? Because then you end up in a never-ending cycle that no matter what the children do, you're just never happy, and then you put them in a personality disorder, and it just goes on, and it creates family issues. So just and they end up rebelling and breaking the cultural norms and traditions, and then the family ends up falling apart. So in order to preserve all that and to maintain the integrity of your structure and what you stand for, and to maintain your relations, is to come here, learn everything, integrate successfully, learn the language, do the education, do work, make an honest living, do what you have to do. You have the right to. And just make sure that with your children that are growing up here, you get involved in their school life, you get involved with what they're doing, so that way they're not hiding things from you. Because if they're in a situation where they feel like they will be attacked for whatever they express, then they will hide those things inside. And eventually it's going to get to a point where they're just going to do more things, and you just don't know anything. Because the culture, because a man and a woman is not properly allowed to express himself bluntly. So have that barrier open. In this society, you need to be involved with your kids and have them open up to you, so they're not involved where they get in trouble in any kind of way. They can open up to you and know that, okay, I won't be ostracized if I share this kind of experience of whatever I went through with them, knowing that they will support me in whatever I'm going through, and that will strengthen their belief, not just in you, not only in themselves, but in their culture as well. So be open with them, have them be open with you, be involved in their life, in their school, in their education, and teach them to be confident that we stand behind you always, and be happy when they do accomplish something. So besides that, the majority of the families I see here of the Eastern backgrounds, they're doing very successful, and their kids that are being born and raised here, and their kids, the generations that are going on, they're basically like integrated successfully, and they are in very successful positions in their life, in their homes, cars, jobs, businesses. Like, they're doing good, and I'm happy for them. But still, this message needs to be reinforced, not just for the new families that are coming in, but for the families that have been here currently, is to not be too extreme to the left or the right, but walk in the middle, where you're giving them the best of the Eastern culture and you're giving them the best of the Western culture, so that way they can be a complete human being here without any psychological or any other issue that might affect them, knowing that they can operate in both worlds, and you have the audacity to be open to one another rather than hide things from one another or be fearful for one another. Oh, they might not support me, or they just want me to follow a path. Let them make their own decisions. Because for a parent, as long as you teach your children what's right, what's wrong, respect, morals, education, give them a proper upbringing, then by the time they reach adult age, whatever they decide to do, you have to support them, because your values are in them, and you should know that for sure. They would not do anything that would go against you or them. So I hope you enjoyed my video. To keep it under a little bit under 10 minutes, and be open with your family and be open with your children, and have them be open with you, and you can live a beautiful and successful life here. Don't let the old school norms get the best of you in a society where everybody's expected to be open, because then you create a recipe for disaster. Get a best of both worlds and combine it and instill those beliefs in your child. And that way they can pass that on to the future generations. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are.